Before we begin the modeling of the structure chosen as part of the Erasmus Plus project, digitizing architectural restoration education through virtual reality, which has Birmingham City University, University of Salento, and Karabakh University as partners, let us first look at where the structure is located geographically. First, we are in Italy, more specifically in the southern region of Puglia, Salento. The architecture under consideration is a 16th century coastal tower named Torre Pali. Torre Pali was built in the late 1500s and was a tower with a defensive function. It was used to defend the Salento coast from Saracen raids coming from the sea. The main feature of the tower, as well as its peculiarity, is that it was built right on the sea, on a rocky outcrop, and, as we shall see later, probably connected to the mainland by a bridge. No other coastal tower, at least in the same area, is in a similar situation. This has meant that, on the one hand, the tower has attracted millions of visitors each year for its spectacle, especially at sunset, of its reflection in the sea. On the other hand, too close to the sea caused more rapid erosion of the tower, leading to gradual collapse, which has worsened in recent decades. As for useful resources for the purpose of the 3D reconstruction, we must give a note to the photographic record. In particular, old archival photographs dating back a few decades were found. Such photographs testify to the state of the tower in the mid-1900s, resulting intact in part of the elevation. These photographs give us a clearer idea about the second order of the tower, which is now almost totally destroyed. Indeed, we can note the machicolation, louvers, and moldings that still exist. Equally important were photos taken during a recent inspection to initiate a comparison with old photographs and see how the towers looks today. We notice how the structure is now infested with plants and collapsed almost completely on one side. As for the interior of the tower, we cannot speculate since there is not enough evidence to do so. For this reason, we will make a comparison with a similar defensive tower in the area. In the photos taken closer, you can see the wall texture of the outer walls of the tower. Another key resource for the 3D reconstruction is the one that looked at the only existing surveys and drawings. Specifically on the right, a sketch confirms to us the presence of a bridge connecting with the mainland and the existence of some hovels on the beach, now totally non-existent. In addition, the bridge reaches the height of the lower register of the tower, which leads to the assumption that the entrance to the tower was through a ladder and not directly through the bridge. In addition, we can see the repetition of the machicolations and lowers along the entire second floor of the tower and the brackets that surrounded the terrace, exactly as in the photos seen earlier. On the left, we see an architectural survey, probably the last one made, dating back to 1820, which brings to our attention both the injuries that the tower already had in the 19th century and the presence of a sentry box, or a watchtower, on the tower terrace. The latter, located at the front door, was used to spot enemies from a small window, but without being noticed. Regarding the tower's interiors, it was extremely useful to make a comparison with other defense towers distributed in the Salento area. In particular, the most close tower was found to be the Tower of Salignano, another village near Santa Maria di Leuca. We can see some similarities referring to the basic elements such as the machicolation, lowers and the organization of the terrace, with the corbelled moldings along the perimeter. The only difference found referred to the entrance of the tower. In Torre Salignano, the gate is on the ground floor, probably because it was not subject to the enemy invasion as much as Torre Pali was, being built on the sea. At Torre Pali, the entrance was on the second floor and was probably climbed by a ladder, which was then removed as needed so that no one could enter. After this introduction, we will quickly explain the 3D modeling steps. The first step will be to model the mesh of the structure, starting with the walls and openings, the roofing, then modeling the interior details and furnishings, and finally the environment around the tower. The second step involves texturing the model through the creation of materials that we are going to apply to each 3D element in the scene. Once the texturing is finished, there could be two options. Either render the model by setting up the lights in the environment like what we see in the picture, or, on the other hand, export the complete model within the Unity game engine to implement the application. Although the latter option will do more for us, in this presentation we have provided some screenshots from the renderings created to get a clearer idea of how the tower will look after finishing the video tutorials. We can see from the renderings how the tower reflected in water as in reality, or the tower is seen from above with a trapdoor that probably connected the floors together. We leave you with this rendering and now let's start the 3D modeling of Torre Pali.